Admit. Okay. Okay. Wow. Welcome, everybody. We are going to get started tonight. So, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening. And I'm going to say Happy New Year. However, I did read something the other day that said, like, after January 7th or 8th, you're not allowed to say Happy New Year anymore. So, but I'm saying it anyway. So, Happy New Year. And I'm Rubin, an instructor in the Phyllis and Harvey Sandler School of Social Work at Florida Atlantic University. And I'm also the founder of the Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement. Welcome to this evening's virtual conversation. I'm grateful to be spending the next hour with you as we learn together about self-esteem from our Sevonte Miller. Our own self-esteem determines how we value and understand ourselves and can impact our relationships, our self-worth, and our overall well-being. Tonight, Sevonte will show us how to navigate the ins and outs of this important topic and share proven ways that we can maximize our own self-esteem. Before we get started, I want to briefly introduce the Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement to those of you who might be joining us for the first time. The center is housed in the Sandler School of Social Work, which is within the College of Social Work and Criminal Justice at FAU. We order weekly wellness programming free of charge, and conveniently, everything is online. Students, faculty, staff, friends, family are all welcomed and encouraged to attend all of our events, which include meditations on Tuesdays and Fridays, as well as special workshops like this one. We're posting a link to our website and our calendar events now, so I hope you will make plans to join us. And once you register once for an event, I believe you'll get other things so that you can register for everything. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening, Sevonte Miller. Sevonte is a dual FAU alumnus with a BA in psychology and a master's of social work from the Sandler School. He's currently the CEO of Unified Dreamers. What a great name, which connects small business owners by people of color. His greatest passion comes from inspiring individuals and letting them know they can overcome anything, no matter what the circumstances are or situations that may arise. He was also a student of mine in my class. And like I was telling him before, I have lots of students every semester, and there are always a few that stand out. And yes, Sevonte was one of those students. So I am thrilled to have him speaking with us tonight. And I lost my notes. What happened? Okay, I'm thrilled to have him speak. It's now my pleasure to introduce him. So, Sevonte, take it away.
All right. And thank you so much for the introduction, Professor Rubin. And I do want to say I am very excited to be here with you all tonight to talk about self-esteem and also ways that you can increase and maximize your self-esteem. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and share my screen with you all. And during the presentation, if you all have any questions, you can either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand and say it out loud as well. All right, can everyone see my screen? And I'm guessing that's yes.
We can, you're good to go.
Awesome. All right, so I first want to start off by telling you all a little bit about my story and some of the things that I had to go through, especially when it came down to self-esteem. So these are some pictures of me. And this was actually back in elementary school. So during elementary school, I had very, very low self-esteem. And as we all know, with self-esteem is something that stems from childhood. So during this time, I was actually around 200 pounds. And one of the things that really impeded me and my self-confidence was my weight. During this time, I was very, very obese, and the doctor told me that either I had to get the weight off of me or I would end up with diabetes. So you all could only imagine how this felt, especially me being at such a young age, having to deal with self-esteem and my confidence levels. Now, with this, it didn't just stop there. During middle school, I started to raise my self-esteem, just starting to speak positivity into my life more and more. But then as I transitioned into high school, that's when things started to change. So during high school, around 11th to 12th grade, I don't know if you all have heard of FCAT. FCAT is a standardized test that you would have to pass in order to get accepted into college and also to graduate high school. Well, I actually failed FCAT. And when I failed FCAT, I didn't know that I was going to graduate. So because I failed FCAT, I was put into remedial reading classes. And that just took a blow to my overall confidence. Because with remedial classes, especially like with the peers that I was around, they would call you things like retarded. They would call you things like slow. They would say, you're not smart, and they would laugh at you. And those were some of the things that I was dealing with at the time. Even the people that I would call my so-called friends were the main ones that were laughing at me because of the fact that I did not pass FCAT and I was put into remedial classes. So fast forward, back in 2020, I ended up graduating with my master's in social work. And during that time, I also started my own company, Unified Dreamers, where we connect small business owners, especially ones that are ran by people of color. And we also help people start their own business. Now, as time progressed, I wanted to venture off into other entrepreneurial endeavors. So I also created my own financial literacy board game called 100 Streams in order to teach kids about financial literacy. So I do want to ask you all, how do you describe self-esteem? And you can say it out loud, or you can also write your answers in the chat. Or what are some words that you use to describe self-esteem?
How you feel about yourself and how you perceive yourself.
Mm-hmm. Trusting yourself, confidence. All right, how an individual feels, your belief in your abilities, sense of ability. All right. Okay. Having doubts, feeling worthwhile, perception of yourself, how you value yourself, positive validation. Awesome. To me, self-esteem is an evaluation of your self-worth, which can encompass a multitude of emotions. Because as we know, you can have both high self-esteem and low self-esteem. So there are some signs of low self-esteem, which is downplaying your positive attributes, seeing yourself as inferior. And this is something that I really struggled with, especially during the time of high school, because when I was put into those remedial classes, I didn't see myself as smart or, as equal to my peers. And even with that being said, I didn't even think that I would be able to get into college because of the fact that I felt so inferior because of my self-esteem. Using negative descriptions to describe yourself So, saying negative things to yourself like, oh, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm not smart enough. Your self-talk is negative. You believe in luck more than your own abilities. And this is really big because often at times, especially I can only tell you all from a personal experience, that when I used to do things and, I would succeed at them, I never thought that it was because of my own attributes. I used to just be like, oh, I'm lucky, or, oh, that just happened. Never really having that confidence within myself and telling myself that, I did it because of my own attributes and my own abilities. You tend to blame yourself when things go wrong instead of considering the complete set of circumstances. Don't accept compliments. And how can low self-esteem impact your life? And I do want to ask you all first, how do you think that low self-esteem can impact your own life?
You can constantly ask for reassurance from those around you by not, well, I will talk about myself as a adult learner. I have had to, my children who are adults have to be the ones that reassure me, because I feel a lot of times that I'm stupid. And as you said before, that when I get the grades that I get, sometimes I ask my son if it was just sheer luck. So, and it's not that, sometimes I think I'm stupid, but it's not that I'm stupid, but I don't have enough confidence in myself.
Right. And then we have missed opportunities, self-inflicted sadness, missing out on being a good friend to ourselves and others. That's real big right there. You project how you feel about yourself on others in a negative way. All of you are correct. Low self-esteem limits you personally, emotionally, professionally, relationally. Yes. And it can hinder you from realizing your true potential. Correct. And also with low self-esteem, it can trigger depression, anger, guilt, shame, anxiety, and or sadness. It can cause problems in your relationships. It can cause doubt in your own abilities. And also it lowers your overall confidence level. And this all shows how important it is for us to raise our self-esteem. So now I would like to transition into how we can maximize our self-esteem. And I would like to say, when it comes down to self-esteem, this is not an overnight process. Even till this day, I still work on things in order to maximize and to have high self-esteem. So don't think that it's just going to take one day. It is a constant effort every single day in order to maximize your self-esteem. And then once you're able to maximize your self-esteem, then you're also able to help others maximize their self-esteem. So, number one, for how to maximize your self-esteem is using positive affirmations. And when I say using positive affirmations, it isn't you just write it one time and then you're done. You have to constantly Use positive affirmations each and every day when you wake up in the morning and also when you go to sleep. And I do want to ask you all, what are some positive affirmations that you can tell yourself every single day? I am enough. I am loved. I am healthy. I am capable. I am worthy. I am brave and valued. I matter. Deep breath. I got this.
You're doing good.
You're doing good. Good morning, gorgeous. Awesome. I am not my past. It's okay to make mistakes. Yes, it is okay to make mistakes.
As long as I have tomorrow, I can start over.
Yep. As long as I have tomorrow, I can start over. Every day, in every way, my life is getting better. When I know better, I do better. Now, when you all were writing those positive affirmations, how did you feel inside? Good. Better. Encouraged to keep going. Lighter. Empowered. Good. And this shows how important it is for us to speak positivity and life, not only in ourselves, but to each other as well. So I highly encourage you all to really utilize positive affirmations and constantly look at them each and every day. Even if it's just one or two, like good morning, beautiful, good night, beautiful. Our words have power. And that's something that you always want to remember. Whatever you speak into this world is bound to come into fruition. So when you are trying to maximize your self-esteem, always make sure to stay positive. Number 2, learn to accept compliments. And sometimes we can all be our worst critic. So if someone gives you a compliment, accept the compliment, but don't just accept it with grace, accept it with love, accept it with power. Number 3, be yourself. You don't have to put on a front for anyone. Always be yourself no matter what. And that's one thing that you always want to remember, especially when it comes to raising your self-esteem, because the more comfortable you are with yourself, I guarantee the higher your self-esteem will be and also your confidence levels. Number 4, believe in yourself. And with believing in yourself, that's knowing that you can do whatever it is that you put your mind to. Nelson Mandela once said, it always seems impossible until it's done. So always believe in yourself. Even when you see the impossible, always have a positive affirmation and say to yourself, I'm possible. Number 5, surround yourself with positive influences. And what do you all think I mean by that?
Family members, friends.
Mm-hmm.
If those are positive influences.
Yep. Friends, family, people you follow on social media. Keep people close to you who uplift you and help you feel empowered. Awesome. And also with surrounding yourself with positive influences, Remember, it doesn't have to be just people. It could be what you're watching on television. It could be what you're listening to every single day, because even with music, music has power. So always remember to constantly surround yourself with positive influences. Number 6, voice how you feel. And what I mean by voice how you feel is if you feel uncomfortable in a situation, tell the other individual how you're feeling and don't be afraid to voice your opinion. Because as you continue to voice how you feel, you start to build up that confidence within yourself brick by brick by brick. Number 7, mental and physical exercise is another way that you can raise your self-esteem. And we know with physical exercise, how it releases your endorphins, your dopamine, and it also lowers your cortisol levels. All that contributes to raising your self-esteem. And with mental exercise, that could be the people you hang around, what you watch on television, what you're feeding your mind, whether that be through the books you read, the music you listen to, maybe the podcast that you listen to, what you're watching on TV. All of those things contribute to your self-esteem, and it can either help you grow or it can hinder your growth. Number 8, practice self-care. And with practicing self-care, and I always say this, whether it be just taking 10 minutes out of your day to focus just on you, do it. Because especially in the times that we live in now, self-care is so important. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you help others? You have to fill your cup up first before you pour it into other people. So always remember to practice self-care, because when you practice your self-care, it also increases your self-esteem. And I see self-care breaks during the workday, such as daily meditation breaks throughout the day to raise your vibration. That is correct. And one way that I also practice self-care is by meditation. I first started off with 2 minutes a day. Then I slowly worked myself up to 5 minutes a day. And now I'm up to doing 20 minutes of meditation. And that really does contribute to the high vibrations, which then contributes to your overall mood and your self-esteem. And then breathing. Yes, taking time just to breathe. Even if it's just 2 minutes, just take that time, take a deep breath, and relax. Number 9, write down goals and execute them. So it doesn't matter how big the goal may be or how small the goal may be. It could be daily goals, it could be weekly goals, it could be monthly goals or yearly goals. Write down your goals and then come up with a plan to execute your goals via a vision board, correct? And then you see, once you start knocking out those goals, how much you're starting to build your confidence more and more and more. And smile. Something very easy for all of us to do. Because when you smile, it truly does put that positivity out into the atmosphere, and it truly can raise your vibration and your self-esteem. And when you smile, it not only raises your self-esteem, but when you smile at someone, it can also raise their self-esteem as well. And it costs nothing to just smile. And I would like to end on a positive note. And that is always remember, self-esteem does not grow overnight. It's like a seed that needs to be watered and fed with positive energy each and every day to truly develop over time. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you all, and I'm going to hand it back over to Professor Rubin.
Hear you.
Sorry. When I forget to do that. Before we dig into some of the questions from all of you in the audience, we need everyone to please complete a very brief survey. It will take you 30 seconds. The link is being added to the chat now. Your feedback is so important to us for what we're doing right now. We want to fine tune our programming and know what kind of events you are all looking for. And it only takes a minute. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. So the link is there. And now, wait a second. So who has some questions for Sevonte? Let's see. So one question is, what are some of your positive affirmations, Sevonte?
What are some of my positive affirmations? All right. So some of my positive affirmations is I am enough. I am wealthy. I am an influencer. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am knowledgeable. I am healthy. Those are just some of them. And these are things that I repeat every morning and every night. And once you start repeating these day in and day out, you'll start to see that you're actually living them too.
I often tell students in my class that your body believes everything you tell it. So, Sevonte talked about this idea of self-talk, and our self-talk, those are the most important words we speak every day, how we talk to ourselves, because we're talking to ourselves all day long. So I love when you talk about that idea of positive affirmations. Is there anything that you are comfortable with sharing about how you journeyed from your childhood struggles into where you are today? How did you, if you're comfortable talking about it?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I don't mind sharing with you all. Like I said, during my childhood, it was very, very challenging for me because of the fact that I wasn't overweight, I was obese. So just having that thought in my mind, I'm like, I used to always tell myself, like, Sevonte, like, you're fat, you're stupid, all that. But over time, I had to realize that you have to speak life into yourself. You have to speak positivity into yourself. Because if you constantly put all these negative affirmations inside of yourself, you're going to start to live those out. So what I did was I slowly started to transform over the years. And like I said, it's not an overnight process, but you have to constantly tell yourself positive things and also surround yourself with positive influences, because those influences can make a huge contribution in your life.
Great.
Who was that person for you?
So that person for me, I would say, is my mom. My mom was definitely one of my biggest fans, one of my biggest influencers, and also my grandma before she passed.
They helped you lose the weight. That was the first
Yes.
big hurdle. That's a hard thing to do.
Yes.
And then how did you transition, so to speak, from low self-esteem in high school to realizing you could go to college?
Once I started getting accepted, once I started getting the acceptance letters into colleges, and also once I started to get scholarships, because I had all of my college paid for. I didn't have to come out of pocket for anything. So that really was a huge confidence booster for me.
So we have a question. If a client is doing well with self-esteem and then has a setback, what do you recommend?
Right. So when a client is doing good with self-esteem, but they do have a setback, letting them know that it's not the end all be all. Because, in this game of life, we're all going to have shortcomings sometime, but it's all about how you pick yourself up and how you keep moving forward and what you learn from that setback so that you don't repeat that same mistake.
Got it. Okay. Another question. When you start new goals, whether small or large, lifestyle changing goals, how do you maintain motivation? How do you and like what you do to tell yourself during these processes so when you struggle or reach a block, you don't lose motivation?
So two things that I always go by is discipline and consistency. Those are two things that I always tell myself, especially when it comes to, setting goals for yourself. For example, and I just talked about this today with my interns, when it comes to setting goals, make sure that you're able to achieve the goal. So if you want to lose, let's say 10 pounds, where do you start? You first start by changing your eating habits, by exercising, and also by putting a time frame on it so that you're able to stay dedicated to achieving that goal. But a lot of it too is having the awareness for if you do not accomplish that goal, that it's okay because you still made more progress than when you first started.
I have another question. I apologize for my dogs barking. If someone is being a negative influence, sometimes unintentionally, what is the best way to approach them and talk to them?
Right. So when it comes down to if someone is being a negative influence, for one, I'm really big on setting boundaries. And for two, seeing if you can have a conversation with that individual and truly let them know how you feel. But make sure that it's a genuine and it's truly coming from the heart. Because often at times, if someone says something mean to me, I'm gonna have my fence up and then I might say something back to them. And then now we're both butting heads with each other. So make sure that they truly understand where you're coming from and that they can see it from your point of view.
I love what you said about boundaries. And I talk about that a lot in my class because very often when we are trying to be on this road of growth and positive well-being, we have people in our lives that sometimes can bring us down. And what you just said about boundaries, and sometimes it's more difficult than others because sometimes they're our very close people, our mother, our father, our sister, our brother, our, people that we see often. And boundaries, setting the amount of time that you're going to spend with those people. Sometimes we can't just completely get rid of them in our lives, but we can set boundaries, like you said, and limit that time or create a time, an activity that we're going to do together that they can't necessarily bring their negativity into that, but it's very, very important. Let's see. Oh, I love this. For staying on track, a good friend of mine gave me a great suggestion. She's been using it since November. She uses a dry erase marker to write her affirmations and goals on the bathroom mirror. It's where we start every day and they just stay on top of our mind. Love that. So some strategies. Boundaries. That's good. Okay. What would you suggest when the workspace has a low self-esteem culture and often, although boundaries are set, it overflows throughout? That's a really good question, and it's a challenging one.
So what would you suggest when the workspace has a low self-esteem culture? To answer that is to be the light and you be the culture. And what that looks like for you. You be that positive influence and continue, even though it might be a work in progress, even if it's something as small as good morning, how are you? you can see how that can transpire over time. So if you notice that, the culture, the work environment that you're in is negative, everyone's down, see how you can be that light in the culture and really shift that culture. And it all just starts with just one person. One person can make a difference.
So true. Very often, I think the culture where we work comes from the top. So I'm guessing that who's ever at the top is kind of, spreading that, which, be the light. Okay. So somebody said, Sheila, it's very hard for me to tell people how I feel, especially if I like someone. I don't want them to not like what I say. I hear you. I understand what you're saying. Sometimes it could be helpful, Do you want to answer that, Sevonte?
Yeah, no problem. So often at times it is hard to let people know how you truly feel. But at the end of the day, and sometimes you have to put yourself first, and that comes with setting that boundary, because we can't please everyone. But you always have to put yourself and your mental health first. And then see if that person can get an understanding. And like I said before, seeing it from your point of view, how they are making you feel. And then maybe from there, they will shift their behavior. And if not, that's where it comes back to setting the boundaries.
So another person is asking, what are some strategies we can do to stay positive when there is a close relative we are around often who is very negative?
All right. So some strategies that you can use to stay positive is, for one, maybe journaling how you feel if you don't want to be outspoken with it. Even something as small as taking sticky notes and leaving positive affirmations so that person can read them, and really just try to shift that culture.
Something that I do when I'm with somebody who I feel like they suck the life out of me is, let's say they say, they want to talk. First of all, people that are negative and that do that, they want you to join in with them. So whether you talked about how disgusting the weather was today, or how much traffic there was, or how much you dislike, something political or whatever it is, they want you, oh yeah, that really stinks. That's horrible. I can't believe that person said, they want you to like join in with them. And what I do is I just change the subject.
Yep.
I don't even address what they're talking about. I'll say, I'll say something like, that's so interesting. By the way, what did you decide to do this weekend? I'll just really completely go off course. I won't, because I don't want to be in that space of talking about how bad something is. I mean, even people that want to talk about COVID right now and what's going on, there's a lot of, let's say bad things that we could talk about with COVID, but I don't want to be in that space. Let's deal with what we have to deal with. And, let's talk about have you watched anything great on Netflix lately? I will completely change the topic. I don't know. That's how I deal. Yeah, don't feed into it. Exactly. Okay, let me see if there were other questions. Sometimes they still go on. I know. I really know that. Sometimes they still go on. And by the way, I will just transfer. I'll just talk about something else again. I won't go there. I don't want to go there. It makes me feel, ugh. Yeah, please try that. See how it works. I like this thing. Oh, that's interesting. That's so interesting. Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. That wasn't me. Okay. Yeah, try it. I'm telling you. Oh, fake a phone call. There you go. I'm sorry. I gotta go. Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up?
And Professor Rubin, I can also share my contact information as well.
Yes.
Reach out.
Every heartbeat you have is a gift and a chance to go on and improve. David, thank you. And that is so true. I love that. I love that. I love that. This has been such a fantastic conversation. Wow. But we're just about out of time. We can never have too much health and happiness in our lives. So I really want to thank Sevonte. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm so grateful that we all now hopefully have a few more tools in our toolkit so we can begin maximizing our self-esteem and conquering our New Year goals. To everyone on the call, thank you for spending part of your evening with us. We hope you will join us for our workshop next. Is it next? No, it's like in 2 weeks, Tuesday, January 25th. Same time, same place. We'll be talking about financial health and how to create a personalized blueprint for success. We all need one of those. Meanwhile, remember to check out our meditations and event calendar and take good care. We look forward to seeing you again at the Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement very soon. Good night, everybody. Have a great evening. Thanks for being with us.